sunk in that I'm a WWE superstar. I think that's something that maybe other people call you and you don't really call yourself. But that doesn't mean I don't feel like I'm not meant to be here. I feel like I am meant to be here. I'm not sure that I'm not sure I've really earned the right to call myself a WWE superstar yet. And I think that today is part of that process of earning it. And I think I win this match, and then I deserve to call myself a WWE superstar.
Oh, you mean this white plastic bag? This one? Yeah, that one.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh. Am I the only one that showed up with my stuff in a plastic bag? Yeah! It's my claim to fame.
Like, no lie. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus be a raindrop.
There's almost a danger in reaching your goals, and that you have to start over, and you have to think about what else there is. In the transition between every career, I've had to go on a short, what I call a journey of self-discovery. And on this latest journey, I was trying to figure out what I want, and that's a much more difficult question than people think. I had all the money I ever needed, all the time that I could ever want to spend it, amazing family, loving husband. So I was thinking about what's missing, because I felt like something was missing. And at first I thought, well, what was missing is kids, and I want to have kids. And I still felt like I had unfinished business somewhere, but I didn't know where. And I wanted to make myself better for my kids. You know, I was thinking about the kind of mother I want to be and the kind of example I want to be. And I don't think I've yet become the example I feel like my kids deserve. And I wanted to find a way to, I don't know, it's really hard to describe, but I didn't want to leave a single dream unpursued.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 111 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast on this Thursday, June 21st, 2018. As you're listening to this right now, this could be the weekend or next Monday or anytime you listen to this. I want to just give a shout out to you guys for taking time out of your schedule to listen to our nonsense for the next hour or so. My name is Josh Lopez. You can follow me on Twitter at NotoriousJoshy. Same thing goes there on Instagram. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, our YouTube channel, and we're going to get it up on Google Play sometime down the road from here. So we'll work on that. Also, other things I want to plug, check out ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. Banged out a lot of articles over the last 3 days. Lucha Underground is back, so that's another thing added onto my plate. But I'm not mad about that because love me some Lucha Underground. I make no bones about that. So check out ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. And lastly, if you have any suggestions for the show, I don't know, you want to hear more intros, or to see something different on the podcast, just hit me. I'm always open up to any suggestions that can help make the show grow going forward in the future. So I am not alone. I got my buddies, my brother from another mother. Nice to see this man finally after 5 years in person this past weekend. I had a great weekend this past weekend, and I see the same here for the conference as he was celebrating Father's Day this week in all facets of Father's Day.
Yeah. Say that again.
The one and only Adam Daley's here. What's going on, my man?
Josh, what's up, brother? Listen, we're going to talk about the weekend here in a second, because this was one for the ages, as far as our Money in the Bank adventure. So we'll get into that in a bit. But, yeah, man, back in town, the daily curse swung back on us, because, no good daily deed can come unpunished with several bad karma spots for some reason. I don't know why that happens. But yeah, man, listen, I thought the pay-per-view, from what I got to see of it, was awesome. The city was hopping. I mean, everyone up there was, we're going to get into this later on. It was a really enjoyable time, much needed, getaway. And we'll get into some good stuff there today. We got some funny stories. It's, you know how we normally do, you played yourself. But today we're just going to do Life Plays Daily, because that's basically what life is. It's just I get played over and over and over. So we're going to be making fun of me a lot in this episode, guys, later on in the show, just for, laugh at my pain, so to speak. But I don't know, Josh. Let me send it back over to you.
I don't know if we can make a world tour like Kevin Hart did, but
I couldn't make a county tour, let alone a world tour, so I don't think I have to worry about that.
Oh, shit. Yeah, we'll touch on Money in the Bank and take over and all that other stuff in a little bit. There is something I do want to talk about today that involves a topic that it gets some play here and there, but I don't think we apply enough context to it. I think it's something that we gloss over at times, is because like we all know we're not perfect human beings, but there's also, it's not an excuse to bring other people down just for the most meaningless of reasons. And this has nothing to do with a dirt sheet. This has nothing to do with this. I'm just talking about in general, cyberbullying in today's society. I think is a big issue. I think it truly affects the younger kids. I'm not even looking at myself, because I wasn't a victim of cyberbullying. I think my bullying came way before that, as I was a kid during the mid and late 90s, dealing with that shit. So I have a different perspective, but I think cyberbullying is a big issue that does affect kids that are like 9, 10, maybe even 11 years old these days. It does get enough attention paid to. I mean, we do have a fearmonger as a president. We got a guy with no spine as a vice president. I'm just keeping it 100 right there. And I think I think society goes where our leaders go. I'm using air quotes there. I just look at trends and stuff throughout the country, and people are sheep in a way, in a lot of different ways of life. There's a lot of things that we're sheep to. We're sheep to being dependent on other people. We're sheep to not looking at things with we're looking at things glass half empty a lot of times, and I think that's sad too. So over the weekend, my friend Nick Giacobbe, which you can follow at Twitter, by the way, Nick_B25, I think I got that right. Something around there, man. The one thing I will say this about wrestling Twitter, and I'm not taking a shot at Nick or anything, I want to make this perfectly clear. And I'm a victim of this too, because being in the media, you have to classify like what brands you're on and shit. So I'm not I'm not throwing the shot without throwing some shade my way too. We are a victim of changing too many Twitter handles. Like one month we're here, and then another month we're over here. So I am a victim. I am a person that's done that in the past. So I'm sorry, Nick, and everybody else who does it as well. So yeah, Nick Giacobbe, he has a great podcast, Who Got Next, which you can check out on the Wrestle Addict radio network on iTunes. He has an NXT show. I met him in Orlando a couple years ago with his dad, Anthony, who's a really cool guy. Nick is aspiring to be a young broadcaster, actually, and I was he asked me a lot of advice, because I went to broadcast school a couple years ago, and Nick was actually a big fan of the Pipe Bomb when me and Adam were on the show. So, it was cool getting to talk to Nick. Nick was a really cool guy, and Nick was actually on the Pipe Bomb one time when I was out of town, unfortunately, and we never got a chance to share the mic. So, Nick, if you ever want to come on the show, buddy, we're open to have you on the show and catch up sometime. So I'll throw that out there. Nick dealt with a lot of backlash this week. He posted out a video during the pay-per-view for his excitement for seeing Alexa Bliss winning not only the Money in the Bank ladder match, but the women's Raw Women's Championship. And Nick has made clear that Alexa Bliss is his favorite WWE women's superstar right now, and he doesn't do it like rubbing in other people's face. But we all have our certain performers that we get excited for. Like me and you get excited for Elias. I
think my dad has a new man crush, and I think his name is Elias.
Yeah, I think we saw that Saturday too, but
you didn't see Sunday. But before the sugar crash happened, you didn't see Sunday.
But we all have our favorites in a way. But Nick is one of those fans that just likes to have peace and spread positivity, and I always appreciate Nick for that. And it's just kind of ridiculous to see him getting some of the shit that was thrown his way about him being a racist and you only like Alexa Bliss because she's blonde and the way she looks and this and that. I just don't know. We always have barometers for our reasonings for things. Like I get it. Some people can look at other people and just easily figure out that they have an agenda for something, but I'm not a person when I look at somebody for the first time and automatically assume a gazillion things about them, because I don't know them. B, I'm not a glass half empty person, and C, I think you should at least have one conversation with somebody before you go to the lowest common denominator of insults and assumptions and this and that. I think actions and actual conversations with people is more important to actually gauge what a person is, instead of assuming something of another person or going off of what other people tell you about that person.
I think the saddest part is I think arguments like these are started by bots, and we're just too stupid here in this country to realize that bots start these arguments. Because I went back, Josh, and does Nick listen to the show?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So Nick, if you are listening out there, listen, dude. I have no idea. And don't take this. Please don't take this the wrong way. But I didn't have any. I had no clue who you are, probably, and you probably have no clue who I was. So when I saw all these people were like, I saw somebody retweet. I think it might have been Mimi, that wrestling chick, retweeted something that one of your videos, Nick. And so I went over and I checked it out, and I just kept thinking to myself, I don't understand what he did. Like, what did he do? Like, he got excited because Alexa cashed in, like a lot of people did. And then next video was, like, him apologizing for being a racist. And that's why I was like, wait a minute, how did this go from 0 to 100 so quick? And that's why I ultimately think that there are, we hear this in the news all the time, even though we want to think it's fake news, because nobody wants to admit that they're being fooled. And I think what Nick put out there was something that was absolutely just a fan's response. And Nick actually I sent Nick a message. I had no idea, Josh, that you knew him or anything like that. And Nick, exactly what I sent you, brother. I meant you do you. You keep being you. Don't let other people dictate your life or how you enjoy wrestling and who to root for. People are and Josh, I say, and the reason why I'm saying this about the term racist is, it's being overused now by typically the right, almost to water it down, because there is actual racism in this country. There's true racism in this country. Because being an Alexa Bliss fan doesn't make you a racist. That makes you a smart wrestling fan, to be quite honest, because she's the best women's wrestler there is in the business right now. She's the best at telling stories. She's the best at entertaining. She's the best at working the mic. I'm sorry. We all have our favorites. I'm not saying she's my favorite, but I'm saying she is the best. Hands down, period. She deserves it. And I don't understand... Legit, Josh, I was like, and I'll admit, I don't normally fall into the Twitter sphere like that. And Josh, you know me, like, I'm so, like, out of it now that, like, I don't care about like, anything that goes on. But I was like, for, like, researching this stuff for an hour. So Nick, please don't, I apologize. Don't think that, you were being Twitter, like, stalked. But I felt like there was more to it. And when I realized there wasn't more to this, I realized this is insanity. Like, there's no reason for, and I don't know. I really don't know, Nick. The one thing that if you are listening to this, man, my biggest thing is that I would say to yourself, like when people are like if you get any kind of kickback or any kind of negativity thrown at you, just think about like who's really sending it to you. You know, who were they? They're nobodies. You know, you're a young man who's aspiring to become a broadcaster, who has dreams and his favorites and likes to still enjoy the product that, you know, he hopes becomes a profession and a career one day. There's nothing wrong with that. I think there's just a bunch of jaded, and I won't use a certain term because, I don't know how old you are, and this is where the one time where Uncle Adam comes in and I'll watch my language. But even though he probably watches this shit, if he listens to this show anyway, he's heard a lot worse out of my mouth. Yeah.
19.
What's that?
I think he's 19.
19? Oh shit! It's all good then. Listen, listen. Here's the best way of saying it, man. You got goals, and I'm 38 years old, and brother, you might have more goals than I do. So don't let old jaded fucks or people that are just unhappy with themselves come at you just because you know how to enjoy a program, because you have a bigger following than they do. Because we live in a weird world where we have jealousy over Twitter followers, and that's why I shut my shit down and made it private, because I got tired of hearing that. Now I will make this announcement that because you were. Josh, you and I were talking. You said, maybe it's a good idea to get on Twitter, a public one for the show for later on. So I spoke with my assistant. I told my assistant, Pinky Vice, that he needed to open up his Twitter account again. My assistant, Pinky Vice, handles all my light work. So if you need to get a hold of me for wrestling stuff, it's at Pinky Vice on Twitter. Josh, that's the Twitter handle that you need to find out. So people can find out, talk to me on there. But that's why I closed my Twitter account up, because I realized who really cares about my opinion, at my age. And not that I'm the old, jaded, bitter, wrestling fan. But, Nick, on that end of things, it's like, that's where a lot of the people, a lot of the vitriol that you're getting is from just fans that either aren't getting enough attention themselves. They're on Twitter because they're not getting enough attention in their lives. They're, the people that live on Twitter during wrestling events, and I'm not saying those that are trying to self-promote. If you're trying to self-promote, I absolutely understand why you're on Twitter live during one of these things. But if you're not self-promoting anything, if you're not trying to be a broadcaster, if you're not on a podcast, which really is kind of an oxy-fucking-moron anyway, if you're not, promote, just trying to do something, if you're not engaging in the hustle somehow, you're just sitting there. You look like you're just sitting there like an old lady reading the gossip column and writing letters to the editor all day, And I'm not saying that that's you, Nick. I'm saying that that's all of the people that are sending hate your way. That's exactly what those people are. They're nothing but the old grandfathers and grandmothers that are so angry at the world that they used to send letters to the editor, to the newspaper, hoping the township would read it. And unfortunately, we have a village full of idiots now, because that's what Twitter has become. I'm going to tell a story later on, like the beauty of the wrestling fan. And this is Josh, I'm glad you brought this up, because I wanted to talk about the yin and yang of the beauty and the ugliness that is the wrestling fan. And Nick, I apologize that you're getting the ugliness of the wrestling fan. Listen, I've gotten it too. I've gotten it from people that you've worked with. And you just, at the end of the day, you realize it is what it is. And people just people behind a keyboard, it's very easy to say things behind a keyboard. And don't let this become a detraction. Don't let this distract you. If people are gunning for you, that means you, my friend, are doing something that they are also not doing. So again, there's jealousy, there's envy, there's a lot of things that they're doing, and they're going quick to the race card. For one, to devalue what a racist truly is, and two, to make you rethink things that I made this mistake, and not that this. Listen, again, this is Uncle Adam speaking for anybody that wants to be a broadcaster out there, because I'll never call myself a journalist. I am an entertainer at best. Maybe once a year I'm an entertainer. The rest of the days I'm just sitting here talking. But for somebody that tries to take things into the comic side or the comedy side of things, I've gotten a lot of negative feedback in my 5 years of doing this now, or whatever, 4 years of doing this. Don't let people change you, because there was a moment in time where I felt like I was more of the problem than in this podcasting world, and this wrestling loose leaf media, I'm using that as a loose term, by the way. Yes. But ultimately, those of us that are fans are not the problem. It's those that all they want to do is go on and complain and bitch and moan and think they know better and talk about what's wrong with it, and they're never talking about what's right. You, my friend, were talking about what's right, and I'm still, talking to Nick. Everybody out there can screw. Nick, you were doing what was right, which is exactly why we all watch professional wrestling. That raw emotion of that in the moment. Our favorites, like when a Punk cashed in, or when that night Edge cashed in, I was calling friends I haven't spoken to in years, screaming, "You got to start watching wrestling again! Edge cashed in." They probably thought, yes, I might have been a little drunk that night, but you would have thought I would like the president got shot, and I'm not. I'm using that in because I'm not today, and see, that's what I mean. I have to this is a weird world today where. My mother and father, it's something that they always talk about. They remember exactly where they were the moment that the news broke when JFK got shot, And that's a very sad time in our history, but that's one of those where everybody remembers where they were that day, 9/11, all these things, And as wrestling fans, we tie and I know that it's in a weird, twisted way, how am I comparing one to the other? We do that as wrestling fans. We're weird, twisted people. But that's kind of the joy that is the circus that we watch. So, because you happen to be a fan of somebody with blonde hair, by the way, has pink tips too. So I mean, she has pink and blonde hair. I think that's a little off. I really have no idea where any of this negativity was coming from. I was really taken aback. So Nick, keep doing you, brother. Don't let these people get you down. Josh, go ahead, Molly.
Nick, I just want to say this to you, buddy, and I told you this before many times. A big part of this business is having to get to the point where you're indifferent to just a lot of what you see on these platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever. You have to be indifferent unless it's somebody who's looking out for your best interests and actually likes you for the person you are. That's the opinions that should matter. The opinions of people that are family to you, people that are your actual friends. That's what matters. So I think it's very important that you keep doing what you're doing. I enjoy what you're doing with your podcast now. I think it's very cool. You have a long ways to go. I've been doing this stuff for 5 years. It'll be 6 by WrestleMania time next year. So you got a good future ahead of you. And I'll say this for Nick, though, and I appreciate this because he gets the trolling factor of it. He kind of plays a gimmick of trying to be like Tommaso Ciampa. He calls himself Nicky Entertainment, and he just trolls NXT fans here and there. So
awesome.
I'll give a shout out for Nick for that because he understands that you can't take yourself too seriously all the time. Mm-hmm. Even though you have no sense of music knowledge, I won't rip you for that. That's okay.
Shots fired. So that's the other side of it too. Is that I wish that at 19 years old we had the technology that I could have dove straight into something like this. I wanted to go to school for this kind of stuff, and I was told by all the people around me that it would be a waste of my time and money. I need to go be a teacher or an accountant or a nurse. Because when you live in Western Pennsylvania and you graduate high school in 1990, in the 1900s, when you tell people, "Hey, man, I'm going to go into I want to either go into broadcast journalism or I think I want to go be a journalist," they go, but you'll have to relocate, and nobody wants to relocate. You should be a teacher, an accountant, or I swear to God, man, that was legit. These are student advisors or guidance counselors. I'm sorry, in our school. Telling me this. I'm thinking, I'm laying out. I'm basically giving you guys everything you need. You don't even have to dig for information. Here, find me these schools. Nah, you don't want to do that. Tell my mother, hey, I want to go to this wrestling school. Nah, you don't want to do that. Sure, okay. I guess I'll just commute to Penn State. Penn State then. So, but my point is like, you know, I waited too long to start into this. You know, I waited till I was 34 years old to start doing this stuff. And I should, and there was a lot of personal stuff I had to get over to start doing this though too, as far as nervousness and anxiety and you know, things that I've talked about. You know, ad nauseum, but I talk about those ad nauseum because I like to raise awareness for those things. You know, and obviously you're no stranger to the negative side of the internet, I'm sure. But you know, at age 19, I was a little more naive as well. And at age 19, and even still to this day, you know, I'm kind of like John Mulaney. I've started to make this joke. Sam makes fun of me, and because I'm always trying to be the mayor of fucking nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always like, no matter when we go out, I'm just trying to be the mayor of wherever the hell we're at for no fucking reason. Like, always just trying to be like the dude that's like cracking the jokes and well liked and just like for no reason. I shouldn't care. I should just be treating people like shit, like everyone else in this country does. You know, but I treat people overly nice, and I don't know. I don't know why that I do these things. And I realize now, you know, it took me falling, getting very sick, and realizing there was a lot of people around me that weren't really there for me, to start to say, you know what, fuck people. And this might be one of those times, Nick, that early in life you can realize that, you know, like John Cena says, there's 5 people you need to keep close to you. You are the sum of the 5 people closest to you. And ultimately, you want to be the weakest of those 5 because then you're constantly learning from those 5 people around you. So, the guys I work for preach things like that. So, you know, when people are coming at you, just remember it's because typically you're doing something that they're not, and don't fall into the sludge. Don't, you know, and ultimately, man, don't ever apologize for being you. Like, I felt it, I heard it, and I knew that you know, it was very heartfelt when you apologized. But I felt for you knowing that you had to apologize for something that somebody made up. It was fictitious. You were apologizing for, and in a way, I don't want that to ever stick with you or stick on you because of a story that other people made up about you. So if I didn't have the Joker gimmick going, I would say you could use that, because remember, if I'm forced to have a pass, I would also prefer it to be multiple choice, so you can kind of just notch that in the feather of your cap too, brother.
And you know, you're gonna keep getting attacked. It's just the bad side that comes with being in this type of field. I've dealt with literally indirect shots in person at job interviews for the way I look and my age. You're gonna get it too. It's part of the territory. But I think what's important as we wrap a bow on this is that you're doing the right thing. You know, it's sad that you had to go to the point where you had to apologize, because you didn't have to apologize for shit. You know, you liked who you liked as a performer.
Bigger man than I, because I would have told people to fuck themselves. So you're a bigger man than I.
Nick, like Tupac says, man, keep your head up, keep grinding, keep kicking ass, and keep being you, because you're doing good things, man. And you know, I got your back. A lot of the friends that we know from our circles have your back as well. So.
The Clown Prince got your back, and I'll talk to my assistant Pinky. I'll make sure Pinky puts a good word out for you.
Yeah. By the way, folks, follow Pinky Vice right now. Follow it on Twitter.
I'm telling you, listen, and Josh, I had to pull Pinky out of retirement. Real quick, here's a backstory about Pinky Vice. Pinky Vice and I have been doing business with each other now for, what is it, 2018? Probably about 10 years now, 11 years. You know, Pinky used to be my chief correspondent for my fantasy football league anytime I needed interviews done or anytime I needed all my light work handled, trash talk, that kind of stuff. You know, I don't want to be, and see, you know, and this kind of why we're kind of segueing it this way, and nice segue, brother, is because, Nick, I at age 38 realized I don't want to be in the muck of all this. It's just negativity, and it's just people trying to just ruin your mood, and that's why we're going to tell a story later on when it's laughable that people are complaining about this pay-per-view. When I tell you about the week that I've had, and I dare one of you to say, well, okay, I guess that pay-per-view fucking sucked. When I tell you all the things that in 6 days that happened to me, and how many matches of that pay-per-view I got to go to, paying $225 a ticket for, we'll get to that. But me and Pinky been doing business for a while, and I just, no offense to anybody out there, but unless you got something good to say, I don't really got nothing good to say to you. But maybe, I'll just let Pinky take care of my light work. So Pinky will be out there, handling the Twitterverse. If you guys want to shoot some wrestling questions over to me, so that way there's a public Twitter handle, because they said, you have to have a public handle in this industry, in this wrestling Twitter industry. So I didn't want to do it, so I make Pinky do all the shit that I don't want to do. And one day we'll tell Pinky's story, how we met, like all this kind of stuff. And just for now, at Pinky Vice, he's a dick. I don't like him. He doesn't like me. So don't think that he's like on my side either. But, he's there. So have at it.
Yeah, he's an asshole. All right.
Pinky don't appreciate what I do for Pinky.
Yeah. We had there's positive stuff to talk about, and we'll, as we're moving on from the cyberbullying topic,
let's go into can we go into a quick positive?
Yes, good.
Let's go into positive before we actually break the pay-per-view down, because this is I wanted to talk about dude, it's weird that this is Nick, and because that's the first thing I thought. And I didn't know if that page rumor about a fan slapping her was true or not, and I don't care if that's true or not. I hope it's not true, but after this whole weekend of thinking, you know what, wrestling fans, this is what drives me nuts about wrestling fans. We are the most wonderful, compassionate, caring, people in the world until we get on Twitter. It's the most frustrating and thing, but that's people in general now, and that's why I really put social media down, as much as I did. And I'm not saying any of them are better than the other. I just felt Facebook was the worst out of all of them. So that's the one that I just refuse to go on. Twitter is just as bad. I'm not saying Instagram's any better or any of these other things. Is Clomper a thing? I heard Turd Journey. I heard there's 40 episodes of Turd Journey on Clomper. It's not what it sounds like, but it is, but it isn't. I hope people listen to Mark Maron out there. Otherwise, that's completely going over people's heads. But we didn't really get to embellish last week, but we took a family trip up to Chicago this weekend for Money in the Bank. Finally got to meet the good brother Josh up there, and got to take our daughter AJ to her first show. Got to take my dad to the first show he's been to probably since the 70s, maybe. Like, we're talking old school Civic Arena wrestling where people are chain smoking fucking Lucky Stripes in the crowd. You know what I mean? Like, it's like old school type of stuff. So. It was, it's a different world back then. So, we get up there and I don't want to get too much into the personal side of certain things, but my dad's a diabetic, and has some other medical issues that he's been dealing with for a long time. Couple fake hips, stuff like that. So he's young, but lived a very hard life. And that's why I tell people slow the hell down sometimes. Listen, slow the hell down. Life catches up with you. But, about 10 years ago, we went to a Bills-Raiders game, and I remember thinking, man, halfway through the game, he couldn't sit anymore. Back, hips, knees, I were just too much, couldn't sit, so he kind of had to stand in a turnstile. And, I went and we kind of watched, the fourth quarter of each other just over by ourselves, and we kind of had to leave everybody. So to avoid that, I kind of overspent on tickets to make sure we had the front row, just thinking, he's probably going to cramp up, but maybe at least if we're in the front row, there's nobody in front of us, it might help us out. Well, in the midst of everything, the excitement of driving up there, getting up there, all of our routines were thrown off. So as humans, we're typically in the same routine every day. Everything kind of gets thrown off, eating habits, and even down to where it's not something that I think about every day because I'm not. But my father is diabetic, and he forgot to take his insulin, and we really didn't eat much, and we got to the arena, and it was hotter than hell in that arena, and next thing I know, we were getting drinks and food for the family during the Dana Bryan cast match and during Sami Zayn and Lashley. Came back for the very end of Lashley, caught Elias and Rollins, caught the women's match. And then Reigns, Jinder came out. We went to go get some more food and drinks for the family. And I could tell my dad was just starting to not feel as well. Whatever, we get up there. And, it's just, to make a long story short, my dad just went into sugar shock. It was very, 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 very close to going into sugar shock. I don't want to say it was, but we had to sit him down, call the medics, had to get him down, into the thing. So I spent most of my night like goddamn Jean-Claude Van Damme running around this arena like it was fucking sudden death. My kid and wife are in one place. My dad's in one place. I'm like running around trying to talk to police officers. Are they terrorists trying to blow up the arena? I don't know. I'm just looking for my father and kid. And I hope people have seen the movie Sudden Death, or else I'm making a hell of a lot of references that might be too old for your audience, Josh. Anyway, but it's a Chicago-Pittsburgh reference, goddammit. I think people would get it. Ugh. Anyway, so I think I didn't really get back out. I didn't get my dad stabilized, and not me, but the medics, and my dad stabilized, and until after. Oh man, I want to say what match did I catch the very end of? I caught like the last 2 minutes. I caught the finish of the Styles Nakamura match, so I missed that whole chunk in the middle there. And then I got to see the Rousey match, and then the men's ladder match. So I really only got to see 4 matches because I was either taking care of my family or doing those kinds of things. That said, we'll talk about the matches and everything else later on. But here's what kills me about the negativity of the wrestling fan. I feel those 4 matches I got my money's worth. And I'm going to tell you guys, I paid a pretty penny for these tickets, and I bought 4 of them. And this is the first time but it was a great feeling, taking your family on a vacation. You'll all find out as you get into adulthood and once you're a grown man, and the first vacation that you and your wife take your family on, it's a big deal. And when I say that, I mean you're not just paying for your kid, you're paying for your parents now too, and it's you're making it your family kind of deal. It was a really cool feeling. So for my dad to get sick at this, it was a really hard thing, and it was a mixture of not eating. He was super dehydrated, like his blood sugar spiked, because he didn't take his insulin. Because what he did eat probably was ill-advised. I think it was like a milkshake or something. Still can't teach an old dog new tricks when it comes to that kind of stuff. But what I wanted to say though about all of this, because this isn't a woe is me story. This is more of a the night after a good night of sleep, getting my dad back to the hotel, he was fine. Everything's okay. He got some insulin in him. Everything's, everything worked out. It was one of those learning lessons because, my dad hasn't been to an event in I don't know how many years. We don't think about these things like, man, maybe we should remember to take the insulin just in case. How hot is it going to be in there? It's even as over prepared as I tried to make it. And you can never truly prepare for life's little things. So, I could have sat there and really just been whatever about this entire experience, but I still had the time of my life, and I broke it down. I basically paid like about $65 to $70 per match, right? You guys that watched that pay-per-view at home paid less than $1 per match, and you guys are complaining of how terrible it was. I know from being in there, and my father, who doesn't watch wrestling. Like I said, whenever I said, "Hey, let's go up for this," and he was like, "Hell yeah!" He wanted to see what made it tick for us. He brought up Ivan Koloff. He was getting into it, and when I say Elias has a fan, like Elias has a fan in my dad. So do the Good Brothers. Again, Gallows and Anderson too, just because of a ride along episode we watched. But my dad is a very, very big Elias fan, and my dad was sitting there and he was like, I get it. Like he was totally enthralled with just the whole spectacle of it all, just the music, and I just think he just got overwhelmed by the people. It was he got overheated. I mean, 'cause it was hot in Chicago this weekend, man. Holy cow, it was hot in Chicago. But so anybody that sent us well wishes and stuff like that, thank you. It was greatly appreciated. Because I did put something on my personal Twitter, which I think only like 4 of you are on, which is probably better that way. It's not something that Pinky needs to talk about on the public domain, but the reason why I'm bringing all this stuff up is because, obviously my daughter was shaken up. My wife was shaken up because they didn't know what was going on. I'm running back and forth between the seats, giving them updates, running back down to the medics. I want to give a special thanks to, I highly doubt anybody that works and or whatever is listening to this, but just for the random offshoot case that they are. The medical staff and like the whatever they're called that was working at the Allstate Arena that night was absolutely fantastic. fantastic. There was a gentleman named Tommy that was taking care of my dad that I owe a lot of gratitude, thanks and gratitude towards. I mean, he really, he was. They wanted to get my dad over to the ER. I don't know how my dad slick talked his way out of not going to the emergency room. I really don't. Like, my dad's the king of the fucking snake oil salesman. I swear to God, because he probably should have went. But they sat with him. His sugar dropped. So he was in good hands. But I want to especially say thank you to a gentleman named Tommy who really took great care of him. The whole staff was fantastic. The staff at the Allstate Arena, the ushers and the stuff like that helped get him to where he needed to be, were really, really good. And the crowd, like the crew around us, the people that were around us, I obviously was gone most of this thing, and this is my daughter's first pay-per-view. It's Father's Day. You guys are bitching at home because you didn't get the outcome you want. I didn't get to see my daughter's expression or elation or, put whatever word you want to in there whenever she got to see Asuka's first match. Asuka, she has Asuka on like a pedestal that nobody could ever touch. And I didn't get to see that first reaction. That got taken from me but for good. Listen, and I'm not complaining. It was for good reason. I had to take care of my father. It astounds me that I guess until maybe you either become a father or something has to happen in your life where you really start to appreciate the little things in life again. But I guess that's why, with everybody complaining about the pay-per-view at home, I don't understand it. Now, because really, I should be the one complaining that how dare WWE not stop their show so I can't get everything situated and I get back in my seat so then I can enjoy my time. And you see what I mean? But to the people around us, thank you too. There was a gentleman that was sitting, like the way our seats were sitting, we kind of kept shuffling, like my daughter kind of shuffling around. So the way our signs were set up, it was a certain way. But once he kind of figured out what was going on, he really kind of took care of my daughter and was because my wife was really, really concerned, and you could tell that she she kind of went in mama bear mode where she was worrying, and he really made sure that my daughter was having fun. I totally forget his name because of everything that happened. I feel so bad. But this gentleman, truly, he was doing the Balor, chants and the arm movements with her, just making sure that through all the entrances she was having fun and stuff like that. And that's the side of the wrestling fan base that, when you're there and people are going up to my daughter the whole time saying, hell yeah, I love your belt, who you want to win, and that kind of stuff. That's the beautiful side of the wrestling fan that we don't get to talk about enough. Because we're all, and I don't necessarily mean me or you, Josh. I'm talking about all of us. That's anybody that's on a podcast. Anybody that podcast argues and complains about some sort of fan. And the sad part is that when these people are taken out of their element, which is Twitter or whatever the fuck social media you use, and you're actually put in a place, the beautiful thing is we take care of one another like no subculture I have ever seen. It is absolutely, there is a punk rock element to it. There is absolutely, everyone, it wasn't just and because I said to the guy that was sitting next to AJ, and I'm going to make this brief. You could tell he was hammering down beers at first, and I think I was that guy 10 years ago, and I said to him, I said, listen, man, don't hold back because of us. She's cool. We're rowdy. She's going to be rowdy. Be rowdy, And actually, I went and bought him a beer just to make him, just so he knew not to be nervous. Dude, have at it. Don't worry about her. If she gets we could switch seats if it's, have fun at this. We want every, and that's the beautiful part. And just, some words he said to me afterwards were really touching and really flattering. And dude, that to me, to hear what happened to Nick and to just see all the viral bullshit that always goes on, or when it's always this person against that person because somebody on this on podcast, and it's never even typically the podcast, Josh, you or I or the smaller people that it's always because Vince Russo said this, we're going to go this angle, or because Taz said this, we're going to go. And I'm not blaming them guys at all. I am absolutely not. But what the wrestling fan does is they follow the polarizing figure, they take the polarizing figure's words, and then they just keep reusing them. So as much as all these podcasts want to talk shit about a Vince Russo or a Taz or a Disco or whomever, they're putting dialogue into the wrestling Twitter vernacular. You know what I mean? They are actually leaving a footprint, whether we like it or not. And that's something that I'm not saying don't stop listening to them, guys. I'm not, by no means am I not saying that, because I do think that everybody's opinion should be heard, and I think it's important. But I think that when you see all the foolishness that goes online, and you hear all the foolishness that we always hear on all the podcasts, you know, brother, sometimes us included. And then we're at a show and you see the beautiful thing of how everybody just stops, and it becomes about more than them. You know, it becomes about more, like that kid that was sitting next to my daughter didn't have to all of a sudden start, you know, he was there with all of his boys. And that reminded me of when me and Mike went to WrestleMania 25 though. And I mean, we saw this guy had like 4 kids with him. He had his hands full. So, you know, we got the kids involved with us. We kind of started talking to them. Who's your favorite wrestler? What match you looking forward to? You know, I mean, and it's just, that's what the wrestling community is supposed to be about. And it was through all the strife that kind of we had that my family had to deal with, you know, and not blaming anybody, because it was just one of those where we were all caught up in the moment and we just forgot that our simple things, eat, take our medicines, like, you know, different things like that. And that's normal everyday life things. But I guess that's where I get frustrated. And when I shoot, like, you know, when I'm this outlier that doesn't know how to shut his mouth, it's because I know how beautiful of a subculture we are. I know how beautiful of a community and how caring and compassionate this community is. I do get frustrated when all we want to show is our ugly side. And that's ultimately it. We want the retweets. We want the clicks. You know, we want clickbait. And when I say clicks, I don't even mean groups. We want clicks. We want people clicking our stuff because we want to feel important. And it's crazy, because when you take all the Twitter and everybody wanting to be a celebrity and everybody wanting their voice to matter and be heard, everybody wants to be heard. When people stop caring about being heard and actually care about humanity and the human being sitting next to them, the wrestling fan that's why I love this shit, man. It is that we are a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful bunch of people. And this is where we need to be. And I guess that's where like I think this was a good story to tell after Nick's story, you know. And I hope that this helps, because, you know, Nick, unfortunately you had to see the negative side of things this weekend. You know, fortunately I went through a negative situation, but I saw the positive side of the wrestling community. You know, we need to do better, guys. We do, because we're wonderful, wonderful people that for some reason we're full of our own bullshit.
Right. Did you guys, did you have anybody like stopping you? Like, you guys, before you got to your seats or anything like that before the show?
No. We, Sam and I, like, ran into Noel Foley and, Frank the Clown, like 5 times. Like, every time we looked up, like, and it didn't matter before the show, after the show, everywhere we looked, we were, like, crossing paths. But, no, nobody, I don't think anybody would stop me or know me or anything. I'm a nobody in this game. I don't know. I'm surprised nobody stopped Sam. But yeah, dude, nobody knows who the hell I am. I'm a fucking goon. I don't know. I don't think anybody even knows what I look like. But if it makes you feel better, just for all the other podcasters out there, I look like a homeless person that works at a gas station. Ask the CSR guys.
Before I give my thoughts on the pay-per-view, because I had a wild night myself that Sunday as well, and what was I gonna say? You know, it's like kind of cool. Like, anytime I go to a wrestling show, it's, you know, taking in that ambience of the energy of a wrestling show. And it reminds me why I'm doing stuff like this, and, you know, having my uncle who's a big wrestling fan as well, and getting to see his excitement during the AJ Styles match and stuff. And, you know, it's kind of cool. Like, because I do want to get to the point where we talk about your guys' road trip here, because I do want to talk about that. But, you know, get to see, like, your reaction when Alexa came out from under the ring and cashed the briefcase. Like,
could you see me?
Yeah.
Oh, so you saw, okay, because I couldn't see her. Like, the RC, go ahead. You finish your point first, and then because I want to add on to that.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I got this. You know, it's crazy. Like, for all these years, like I've known Adam, I know Sam for 4 or 5 years now, and get to meet them in person, and then get to see like actual genuine reactions to a wrestling show as it's happening like that, especially when Alexa Bliss cash in. For me, that's kind of like the enjoyment I get of that. I think it was really, really dope. And like for me, like every time I go to a wrestling show, it just gives me another another boast of motivation. Like, damn it, I'm gonna call a motherfucker. I'm gonna call a pay-per-view in this fucking arena. I don't care if it's 200 degrees inside. One day I'll call a show inside the arena. So for me, even despite the stuff I had to deal with inside that building before the show started, I still had a good time at the show.
Yeah, if you guys want to look for us, go back, watch the pay-per-view. Look in the camera side, right behind the right ring post. You'll see a yellow sign and a green sign. It may have said Big Wavy section. I don't know. Maybe Big Wavy's taking over the UK scene, and you guys need to know who Big Wavy Roy Johnson is because the World Tour is happening right now and the titles are being collected. But what I'm saying is that no, you can actually. What was cool for us whenever we got back, and I mean, you might be able to see what the signs say. If you have a better TV than we do, because chances are you probably do. But on the flip side of it, it was there was a picture that Balor put on his Instagram. And it was from Sunday night. And if you zoom in, you can actually see my daughter putting her arms up, like when Balor gets on the top of the ring post, and how everybody puts their arms in the air. And that's when Sam and I were holding the signs down, and I was still, I was after the Rousey match and after the cash-in, so I was kind of back into like a wrestling mode from, because I knew my dad was all right again and everything, so I was kind of, back to where I could enjoy it a little bit. I enjoyed it a lot, but it's funny that you brought up but anyway, with that, if you zoom in, like if you go to his Instagram and you zoom in, you can actually see where it says Big Wavy in the background, and you can see my daughter in a little one of those. It's a white T-shirt with a black. It's a ringer tee. It's the CM Punk, like the cathedral looking T-shirt, and she has her arms up, and like that was the moment for me, dude. Like Finn Balor coming out and seeing my daughter like do the whole Balor Club stuff, where it hit me and it got a little emotional for me. And like I don't know if it was just a culmination of just all the emotions of everything, or just seeing, what I mean, seeing her so happy in that moment because of that guy and just everything that he's done, not only because she likes wrestling, but for the LGBT community. And then, she's bigger. I mean, obviously she likes the women's division more because, just like as little boys, we like the men's division. Little girls, they should like the women's division. She sees a lot of herself in those women. It's she really only has like one, like, quote unquote guy left that she really pulls for, and that's Finn Balor. She loves Finn Balor. So for her to be in that picture is like a moment in time that I will always be able to carry. So kind of look for that. But dude, it's funny how you talked about the emotion about the Rousey Nia Jax match, because I was still kind of not good, let's say, for the beginning of that match, and that was the match I was really like. So I was like, okay, I need to get everything good. But they were still like, I was back in my seat, but I wasn't, because I was still waiting for the medics to come down and let me know that where they were moving my dad and like where he was going to be at, and I had to go check on him again and all kinds of stuff. But I finally got settled in and was able to see like most of that match too, and it got me back into the swing of things. But yeah, man, because where we were sitting, I couldn't see her until she was like kind of slid in the ring a little bit, and because she's only like 5, the 5 feet of fury, because she's only 5'1" or whatever, it like took a minute for me to realize, and then it was like, oh no, it's happening, I've been calling this for weeks, and like we're all screaming. And yeah, it was I'm glad you could see that like in the moment, but and that's what it's about, dude. That's what being, and I think that's a lot of it, man. Is this is the first show we've been to in about a little over 4 years. It was the Raw after WrestleMania 30 was the last WWE show we went to. We went to a Ring of Honor show back in 2014, Styles et al. For the New Japan Pro IWGP title, but this was the first, and obviously a major event in a crowd like this, and just everything. I don't know, man. I'm still kind of shocked that people are like, what do people want? Because I didn't even get to see half the damn show, and the half that I did see, there was shit on my mind. Because the only 2 matches I really got to see without anything being on my mind were Elias and Seth Rollins tore the house down, in my opinion. That when Elias put him barricade wall, ring post, ring steps, threw him in, Macho Man elbow, that sequence was like, oh shit, like you felt it in that crowd. You know what I mean? And then you go into women's Money in the Bank, and my dad's looking at me going, these women are crazy. There's men that wouldn't do this stuff, like just and so like he if nothing else, like his biggest regret, like he's so embarrassed with the whole situation. I'm not obviously telling this story to embarrass my father by any means. I'm telling this story so that people know life happens sometimes. And when you guys are sitting at home complaining about how, wow, this match sucks so bad, I can't believe I'm getting to sit here and watch a match, there were some people that were in a medic's room with their father on Father's Day wondering whether or not they're going to have to leave an event and get rushed to the emergency room. So sometimes I say, guys, perspective is worth 1,000 words. Perspective can be worth 1,000 words. But, brother, I'm glad you could see like where we were at and you could see our reactions and stuff like that. That was awesome. I didn't realize how visible we really were.
Yeah. You know what? Fuck yeah. I'll tell the story really quick before I get my thoughts on the show. So I got to the arena at, let's say, like 4:30ish. I slept in that night because I had obviously Saturday night was a long night for both of us, and I didn't get back to the house till like 3 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. So I decided, it's Sunday. I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna sleep in for a while. Just do what I gotta do and prep for the show. So I go to Red Lobster. Good food. I haven't had Red Lobster in like 10 years. I don't regret it. I thought it was actually good for the last time I had it. So Red Lobster's good. I get around the arena at 4:30. I had a bunch of cool ideas that I wanted to do before the pay-per-view started, and I'll tell you about that after we're done recording, Adam. So I get there, let's say 4:45. We're getting ready to walk in. Bada boom, bada bing. My Uncle Jeremy's ticket scanning. He's using a Ticketmaster app. So you know how it is. You go to the Ticketmaster app, you show your tickets, you scan, boom, 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 you go in the arena, right? First one in, check. Second one, not checked. The ticket guy tells me that the ticket was already used from last night. Well, I was not in the vicinity the previous night, so I don't know how that's possible. And I think what happened was Allstate Arena were selling combo tickets to both NXT TakeOver and Money in the Bank yesterday. And I think what happened was with the combo tickets from the Allstate Arena got sold off to a different marketeer at Vivid Seats. And then our tickets got sold off to the person. So we had to go back to we had to go to the box office. We got kicked out of the arena for the first time. So that's 5 o'clock. All right, I was like, okay, we'll get our actual tickets and it'll just look like the regular tickets and go back in. Like, there's no problem. All right, we get our tickets. Had to wait like 15 minutes to get it, but it was whatever. Go grab it. We go inside the arena. Nothing. I'm walking in. I'm trying to, I think that was the time I was hitting you up and seeing where you guys were at, and I was walking towards my seats. I go in there, I take a couple pictures, I see AJ and your dad sitting at their seats, and I'm walking down the steps, right? And then I have a couple come up to me and say, like, oh, they tell me about the supervisor selling their tickets, blah, 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 blah. I get a call from Jeremy. He's like, oh, you got to come to the North Gate. I'm like, oh, fuck, what happened now? And then I see how visibly, like, ticked off my uncle is. And I feel like, all right, are we going to jail or are we going to get this shit situated? So we get kicked out a second time. This is 5:50. So the pay-per-view starts at 6 local time here in Chicago. It was a 4-hour show. And, this never happened to me before, and I think maybe you guys maybe had different experiences like that. I'd love to hear from you guys if this ever happened to you. I never heard of having tickets that you pay for months in advance being sold off in a different market like that last minute to different people. I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm just telling you about how my Sunday night went before I got into the pay-per-view. And at that point, I was really pissed off because it's not a lot where I go out a lot. I don't go a lot to a lot of places. My place where I feel comfortable is when I'm hanging out with friends or I'm at a wrestling show or a concert. That's the place I like to go to. I don't go out a lot. It's a Father's Day. I wanted to hang out with you guys before the show started. That really started to piss me off. And then you getting kicked out for stuff we're not responsible for. And I'm like, why is this happening? And then I missed the first half of the Daniel Bryan match. We finally got in. The supervisor at the box office was a cool guy. I'll give a shout out to him. His name was Jim, so I'll give a shout out to Jim. I'm pretty sure he's not listening to this, but I'll give a shout out to him. He helped rectify the issue. Even he was confused about what was going on. So it's not really an Allstate Arena issue. It's a Ticketmaster thing that they're on my list right now. And it's weird. I was really annoyed. I had some really cool things I wanted to do before the pay-per-view started. That got out of the way. More importantly, I just wanted to see you guys before the show started. And then it was like, am I going to be moody all night and not enjoy what should be one of the funnest pay-per-views of the year? Or I'm just trying to have a good time and see how it goes from there. So that's what I did. We got into our seats towards the end of the Daniel Bryan Big Cass match. Daniel Bryan won. Everybody was chanting yes. I was like, no. I was doing that towards the end of the match. Finally sending in through Bobby Lashley, Sami Zayn. My mind was mentally tuned out. I wasn't really paying attention to that match. Bobby Lashley did win. It wasn't long. I actually looked back on Wikipedia. They said the match was 6 minutes and 40 seconds. So we had a little conversation before we recorded the show today, guys, and we were talking about how the crowd was acting towards like Bobby Lashley and Sami Zayn and Roman and Jinder. You have one-off feuds, and there's something on the line, like a future title shot or whatever. It's opening you up to a case where it's in between the show and it has no meaning to it, so people their minds are going to be off on different things. So that's what happened there. And then, like you mentioned, Elias came out. He said Chicago's a city with loud scumbags who are looking for attention. I thought that was hilarious. And then per ritual, the crowd obliges and says, "We are scumbags" for a minute and a half. I
like the split of "we are scumbags" and "we deserve it" and we are scumbags.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty obvious who that shot was at, by the way. A loudmouth scumbag that just is looking for attention.
Mm-hmm.
I think there. Yeah. We know there was arrows thrown.
The brains on the wall on that one.
Yeah.
So Elias was a man. You feeling the energy in the arena when Elias came out was really special. I'm not exaggerating here. Like, the crowd was really into Elias when he came out and doing his entrance and stuff. And then he stopped playing. He's like, "Chicago, you're not worth it." So he puts his guitar down. I agree with you what you said about him and his match with Rollins. I thought it was great. Really good stuff. Seth Rollins retained the Intercontinental Championship. And then the women's Money in the Bank ladder match was awesome. It was one of the best ladder matches that I've seen in a while as far as Money in the Bank is concerned. I thought if it was me, I'd say probably the women's ladder match is better than the men's. Not taking away from what the guys did. It's just I felt there was more energy and more urgency to go up for the briefcase in the women's than it was the men's match. But both of them had their good spots, and both of them were good matches. Seeing them, it's always cool watching a Money in the Bank ladder match in person. Seeing the people fall to the outside, you can see which wrestlers are ready to set up for their next sequence, or who's going to get momentum here and there. I just thought it was a lot of cool stuff going on in that women's ladder match. Becky was great. I thought Ember did a good job as well. Naomi, I like that little square off they had with Naomi and Ember Moon. I thought that was pretty cool. Hell, even Lana got some love as well, so it's cool. See, Lana is biz. Lana number one.
Now here's here's something else before we get too deep into the pay-per-view stuff, Josh. I'll say at the beginning, like when my dad was still down there and like was still catching stuff. Like I said, we actually got in there a little bit early because we wanted to be in for the beginning to see what was up first. So we did get to see Gallows and Anderson versus the Bludgeon Brothers, and we were kind of like BSing through that. But once it went over into the big cast Daniel Bryan match, we knew we were going to go grab some stuff, and it was nothing against either guy. It just was I just didn't really care about the feud. So that being said, excuse me, my dad actually said two things like when we were going to get something to drink. He was like, and now see, this is where anybody listening at home, you have to understand that my dad's 59 years old, and it's just a different generationally, it's a different thing. It doesn't mean anything by it, but. He was like, I don't want to sound like a certain, like a weird way, meaning like sensitive, like, how guys can actually be sensitive now and it's allowed. Like in his generation, you had to always preface it by saying, I don't want to sound like, I don't want to sound like I'm like being like weak or not, really, like how you always have to set it up. But he basically admitted that because he got my daughter a Daniel Bryan action figure a couple years ago, because I'm sorry, I misspoke earlier. She likes two male wrestlers. It's Finn Balor and Daniel Bryan. And when Bryan came out, and my dad just like took all his entire entrance in and whatever, and he admitted to me, he was like, Adam, he was like, that just one man having control over that many people, he was like, I got choked up. He was like, he was in awe. Like, and this is a 59-year-old man that's usually angry at the world. You know what I mean? It was just in total awe of the spectacle of everything that we saw. So that's, I guess, maybe we get upset, guys, because we intentionally spoil things for ourselves. Like, here's one. You know what I wouldn't have known about if it wasn't for people telling me about it? And not even because I went and looked for the information. Because people, what my daughter wouldn't have known about unless somebody told her, and granted, she forgot about it, thankfully. And because somebody else said something to say that, like, it could be someone else. But, James Ellsworth coming in, love it, hate it, whatever. That was, if you didn't read dirt sheets, that was a surprise from out of, like, left field. You know what I mean? Total shock. And that's what we watch for, right? Is for the surprises. So when you're playing in the dirt with all the dirt sheets, when you're constantly digging in the dirt and you want to be in the know so bad that you take those moments away from yourself, don't be mad that a pay-per-view, you didn't live up to your whatever expectations were when you're you're spoiling a pay-per-view before you even watch it. So you knew it was impossible.
I'll use the insider term for that. You're burying yourself in the process.
Yeah. I mean, it's too much. It really is. It's too much. It's getting to the point where, listen, I understand because I was there before. You get to a certain point when you watch wrestling and you think you've watched it so many years and you think you know better than the writers do because what do they know? They're just writing for little kids and this and that. And after this weekend of taking my dad and taking my daughter and taking my wife, and me and my wife are little marks. You guys know that. Anybody that's followed my wife knows that she was the queen of the marks before there were queens of the marks. You know what I mean? So I'd like to think that she set the standard for what a female podcaster and or videocaster could be, because she was turning a lot of heads when she was on CSR because she was a little bit different than everyone else on that cast, and I'm saying that as a good thing to my wife. That's and that's not a negative towards anybody else. Relax, anybody else out there. I can compliment my wife, people, and I'm going to. But me and her being the marks that are typically like, we kind of just want to see how the story plays out. I got to see Josh, that casual fan. I got to see my daughter. I got to see my dad, who doesn't watch. He has no stake in any of this. And now you see what the enjoyment that they get out of it. And then all the like I said, all the strife that we had to overcome, all this, and again, so I guess for me, it's not to mention the 1,000 miles I drove round trip. So I don't know. Maybe I'm still saying, Josh, why are people complaining? What is wrong with people, Josh, that they can't just enjoy a pay-per-view? Or maybe is there an addiction to wanting to be in the know, Josh? Is that also tying in with cyberbullying in a way? Like, because how we like to bring things full circle, right? Does this kind of tie into the cyberbullying aspect? Is that because we live in such a I'm right society now. Like 2018 is, some dude came up to my dad and said, truth used to be to hustle, but good is the new hustle. My dad went, what? He went, truth used to be to hustle, not good is the hustle. You get it. My dad went, the fuck I do. He's like, get away from me, basically. So, but the long story short is, like, right now, it's everybody just saying how good they are. It's nobody really backing it up with substance or whatever. And we're all being drug into this mindset of negativity and you know, things that poor Nick had to put up with over the weekend, you know, like, you know, so let's stay out of the dirt. The more we get into the dirt, the more that we want to be know-it-alls, because we want to be know-it-alls so that we can tell people I told you so. Because then if you can tell a videocaster or a podcaster, or if you're a videocaster or a podcaster looking to tell people I told you so, you know, it's either the fan looking to say I told you so, or the podcast, or whomever. Someone's always looking to say I told you so. And in the midst of all of it, you're ruining your own entertainment, because the thirst to be right is taking away the need to be excited.
Yeah, and that's what I dealt with on the previous show that I was on.
Right. Right.
You know, narrow-minded city USA. I just think that's where we are right now. We're just narrow-minded to everything we're surrounded by. We're narrow-minded by the traditions that our families have to abide by. We're narrow-minded to things that don't matter at the end of the day. And like you said, there is the whole thing about being right and this and that, and and it's not something where there's not a book to justify that reasoning. you know how, like, they have the dummies, like the 101 for this or the 101 for that. Right. Like, I'm not going to try to come in here and be like, I could figure out the reasoning for this person, for this situation, and that situation. I can't do that. Plus, I'm not in the mood to give myself a headache trying to be in other people's shoes. No shot. No shot. So, like, for me, I think we're just narrow-minded to everything now. It has to be this way or the highway. It has to be the NXT style of wrestling or WWE. Like, all those dumb, silly arguments you see all the time on Twitter about presentation and this and that. Entertainment is different. You know, I'll watch a mob movie one week and then I'll watch a comedy movie the next. Am I only supposed to watch comedy movies or mob movies? Is there? Do I only have to listen to strictly classic rock music and not listen to R&B or hip hop or jazz? You know, like, we're just so narrow-minded to everything. And it's not even just on a wrestling tip. I mean, I hear it all the time on sports radio. I hear it on television. I see narrow-minded in facial expressions of anchors. Like, it's just frustrating, you know? Like, take your thoughts about Roman Reigns' James aside. Take your thoughts about Bobby Lashley's side. You looked at 10 matches on the show, but it's 2 that are affecting your enjoyment of the show. And I talked about this in the past. One match or one booking decision should not justify your view on an entire show. I think that's ridiculous. Because you spent 3 hours enjoying the majority of the show, but because the winner you wanted for the Royal Rumble was not the winner, that means the entire pay-per-view sucked. Oh, because this person didn't win the Money in the Bank ladder match that you wanted, that means the match sucked. Like, a lot of times, and WWE is not perfect at what they do, they're not, but there's a lot of times where that company can't win. It's just where they are as a company and what they dish out each week. You know, everybody's kissing WWE's ass in a way because, believe it or not, folks, NXT is not its own company. Until I don't see WWE promotions on their commercial breaks during takeovers like it was on Saturday night, it's still part of WWE. So we'll kiss NXT's ass the night before, but we have to have a narrow-minded approach because it's the main roster. This is the main thing. I don't know why we watch anymore, and I don't know why we watch anymore. It's frustrating, you know. Ask anybody that went to that show on Sunday, and you ask them if they were there, if they were that miserable. because the people I was sitting by were having a blast the entire time. I didn't even hear one thing about booking. And usually when I go to wrestling shows, if it's like a Raw or SmackDown, that's the only thing I hear behind my back. Booking this, booking that.
Well, and you know what kills me too is that, like, if there is a place to cheer and boo about booking and this and that, it's at the event, right? Or it's when you're watching it. It's not like looking down at your phone, booing and hissing and, like, you know, hissing like Woods did at Kevin Owens the other night, like, you know, like this isn't what we're. I don't know. This is just the one thing I just want to ask everybody out there, and I just, this isn't a, like, I'm big in putting myself in other people's shoes, and I think that's why I'm so down the middle of with everything, of like trying to always be the guy that compromises, and in the end I end up a lot of times giving up more on my end just to fucking make people happy, but it is what it is. But just, well, those of you that would just want to complain, think about it being Father's Day, and you're running around an arena, and you almost watch your father hit the fucking floor in the middle of a wrestling crowd, a city 450 miles from home. Tell me you're gonna, like, explain to me how you're then find a way to enjoy that pay-per-view. This family somehow did. You know what I mean? Don't think that it was like, you know, I use wrestling as an escape. I use anything I watch as an escape. It doesn't matter what stupid shows any of you at home listening to this watch, or movies, or whatever. Whatever any of us watch, it's supposed to be an escape, not our lives. My priority was taking care of my father and my family that night. So any of the show that I got to see, ultimately, as a grown man, was just icing on the cake, because then I go into fatherhood mode, and fatherhood mode is taking care of my sick dad on Father's Day and making sure that my wife and daughter are okay and they're not worrying too bad. You see what I mean? I mean that. So ultimately, while you're sitting at home, no cares at all, no worries, everything hunky-dory, your only complaint that you're alone watching a pay-per-view, not with anybody else, tell me how bad that pay-per-view sucked. Because the little bit that I saw, and here's the 4 matches: Elias, Seth Rollins, Women's Money in the Bank, Men's Money in the Bank, Nia Jax versus Ronda Rousey with the Alexa Bliss cash-in. Those are the only 4 matches I got to see, and I promise you, I got my money's worth. I needed those 2 matches before with my entire family, not only for my father to see why we love this business and industry and why we love this art form so much, but I needed those last 2 matches to kind of get my mind, like, break it back into, you know, knowing, okay, my dad's going to be okay, everything's just, you know, just kind of just try and have fun with this. So, you know, you could go match by match and then have one match ruin your whole night because, oh, God forbid. But, I'll tell you what, on the flip side of it, though, I will say this, Josh. WWE knew what they were doing. So if you're at home, if you were complaining because of whatever, listen, there were some long lines in Chicago. They know how the concessions work up there, and the lines were long. There's no doubt in my mind that WWE knew that crowd was not going to be invested in Roman Reigns and in Jinder Mahal. I actually heard a lot of people, and this is where you, Josh, you know that I'm always that it's nothing Roman's doing. There were a lot of fans that, you know, to that argument, that were saying, like, man, it's not even Jinder, it's just Roman, it's just, you know, and I don't want to get into the whole booking of it or anything like that, but Charles Robinson put a tweet out that just said something about how disrespectful fans were during that match and this and that, and I don't want to get on that hill. I'm not, listen, opinions are just that. We're all entitled to an opinion. I don't want to say it's right or wrong, and I'm not trying to make his point invalid. But my counterpoint would be this. Josh, why for, again, let's call it like it is, decades. And brother, this is the first pay-per-view I've been sober at in the new millennium. So in the 2000s, this is literally, because I didn't start drinking until 2000, and then I just became a total alcoholic. But so this is the first time I was sober at a pay-per-view since 1999, whatever I was at. But the running joke has been, until about 2 or 3 years ago, and this is where we really should start, you know, thanking a lot of these women and really respecting these women. Women's matches were always the bathroom break match. What was always the conversation in the bathroom? There's these hot women in the ring, and we're all in here with our dicks in our hands. What's wrong with us? Wah, 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 wah. Those were always, any city I went to, any city you went to, anything, and that was a running joke. And it was because that was the truth. So let me ask this, Josh. Why wasn't that disrespectful? Why wasn't that abhorrent? Why didn't any referees come out and say, how dare you say that about these women that are athletically pulling their clothes off for your entertainment? Like, you see what I mean? Like, I think WWE understood that this was going to be a match that was more for the home crowd if you were invested. This was more for the kids. This was more for that. This wasn't for the smarkiest of the markiest of the story. That's what wasn't it. And it was reflective when I went to the bathroom and tried to get, I thank WWE for this match. Otherwise, my father might have just passed out in his seat because I needed this match because I could tell my dad was starting to not be a certain way, and that's kind of why I got him out of there for a minute. But with all of that being said, a lot of times they do group matches in certain ways when they know that lines are going to be long. They know certain so. I don't know. I'm tired of I do agree. I will agree that I do think that something might have to change with Roman. But my thing is that who's to say it isn't already happening? Who's to say it's not already in place? We don't know. Again, we don't know the ending to the story. We're going along with the story as it's being told, we don't know the end. We don't have Cliff's Notes. And, we don't have, like, a synopsis that we can go off of. It wasn't spoiled for us already. You know what I mean? We don't know where they're taking Roman Reigns right now. I do think maybe they should tweak him a little bit, something, maybe. Because I do think I'm only saying it was problematic because even if my dad didn't get sick, I would have missed 2 matches just waiting in line to get nachos and a drink. And that is insane to think because that many people left the arena at once. And so, I'm not that, to me that's a problem because you kind of want to even out the crowd a little bit. You never want lines to be that long. You never want your crowd to seem that empty. You never want fans to start, because I think the complaints then happen, Josh, because again, if my dad didn't get sick, I still would have missed the beginning of the Asuka Carmella match. So I still would have missed that moment. And granted, they could say, well, it's because you left your seat. Absolutely. But we all need those bathroom break matches to use the bathroom, to get a quick drink so that we don't pass out in our seats or sugar spicy. You know what I mean? Like these kinds of things. So, but I do think they maybe need to do something so that it's not, so that, like I actually thought the B team and Bray and Matt were wrestling. And this is all I'll say, Josh, is even though I want to see that match, I knew, like, okay, I guess I'll sacrifice this match for a quick food run. So that was where my mindset was. Unfortunately, everyone's mindset is on one match, and that just causes a lot of problems for a lot of people. So that's the only constructive criticism I would have about what's going on with Roman Reigns right now is that I think that is an issue. When that many people leave their seats at once, and then that's where the ire of the fans starts to come in, because now you're missing other stuff. Now you're waiting in line for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I mean, it was. I was running around for a little while, so who the hell knows how long I was really there for? But I think Josh, that's the only reason. Otherwise, I do think that the fans, I think the fans' arguments are a little vacant sometimes. They're a little empty. I think something like this from Charles Robinson, who's been, and I love Charles Robinson. I'm not trying to like call him out or pick on him or not nothing like that. He's a great dude, and I just think that for years nobody cared when that's all the women heard was, well, you're the bathroom break, you're the bathroom break, you're the bathroom break. I mean, they were still doing, they were still trying too. They were still it's not like they were put in a position to, I don't know. I don't like the hypocrisy when it's, I'm a big fan of consistency. That's all.
Right. You made a lot of good points there. It's not really much that I disagree with. The main 2 things I took away from what Roman and Jinder happened is this. I don't think that pay-per-view was reliant on whether or not that match was going to be good. With it being a gimmick show, you need those filler matches in between just to let the show breathe. So you have enough in you to have those special reactions like when the James Ellsworth pops up, or how great the AJ Styles Nakamura match was going to be. So my whole thing with the Roman and Jinder thing, and I was in the crowds and I saw the waves go past me and all the chants that were going on. I took all that in. My thing is, and this is just my point of view, I don't know how a match is boring after 30 seconds. That's my thing. When you get so narrow-minded to the point where you don't give something a chance, that's the issue I have.
Agreed.
Presentation and all this other stuff, that's subjective. That's not what I'm talking about here. But not giving something a chance, not even a minute in, I don't know. That's just something that I will never understand. I've heard that shit at WrestleManias before. I heard it at other events I went to. How do you know a match is boring 30 minutes in? Mm-hmm. When I retranscribed the match on Monday and I muted the crowd, what they did in the ring was fine. For me, I'm over the Roman Reigns conversation because there's no substance to it anymore. It's not going anywhere. It's not.
Right.
Because he wasn't even the feature attraction of the show. If they were really relying on Roman to be dependent on the pay-per-view, he would have been in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, and we wouldn't even have this match in the first place. But he's not. So,
they kept him out of Money in the Bank to make the fans happy. And honestly, Josh, to give them a bathroom break match. Yeah. And they still complained. So you're a fan of complaining. You're a fan of Roman Reigns. Any retweet is a retweet, right? We watched on Michelle Wolf, remember? That's any media outlet will tell you. A click is a click is a click. A retweet is a retweet is a retweet. And to WWE, a reaction is a reaction. So they did give us a pass to say, hey, go to the bathroom, and we did. But I think that's where the problem is.
I wonder, maybe Roman and Jinder would be over on Polavision, but you remember
Polavision. Oh, we're going to talk about Polavision. Oh boy, we're going to talk about Polavision here later on. We talk about the trip. We're going to talk about Polavision. Oh. All
right, I want to get these last remaining thoughts out from the pay-per-view. I love the Carmella Asuka match. I thought it was a very good match for what they did. I thought Carmella does not get enough credit for what she does as a performer in the ring. It's kind of like the Alexa Bliss syndrome. It's like we won't give Alexa Bliss a chance because she's blonde. Oh, we won't give Carmella a chance because she's loudmouthed and she's from the East Coast. So, she doesn't do Canadian destroyers or planchas. I mean, Carmella did do a suicide dive. If that's what matters to people these days. I thought Carmella and Asuka had a very, very good match on that show. James Ellsworth pop, there was a pop for him. People were going excited for him. I'll say that. And then I love the AJ Styles Nakamura last man standing match. I really felt that was the WWE match everybody was looking for from them, and the crowd and how they react towards the final moments of that match, especially the Styles clash off the ring steps, or when Styles did that phenomenal forearm through the table. It was insane. So,
I don't know. I didn't get to see any of that. Obviously, I saw the replay when I got home, so I did watch that match, guys. But I can't talk about the atmosphere of the arena because I was in the lower level in the medical room. But you guys complain at home about how bad it was. Complain. Keep complaining on your bully pulpit. Go ahead. It's okay. Be heard. Be heard.
Connect, discuss, and be heard, everybody. Ronda, we did see this though. Ronda Rousey and Nia Jax. Always nice to see Ronda Rousey in person. She's over, man. It's just
so good, dude.
Being naive at this point if you're not recognizing what she's doing right now. Not only what she did on Sunday, but that opening segment for Raw this week was on point as well. I want to give a lot of props to Nia Jax because that's not an easy spot to be in after a world title match. that went that long and all the crazy spots he did in that. And for her to be the one to control what's going on in the ring like that with Ronda, with it being her first singles match in the company, that's not an easy spot to be in. So I think a lot of props need to go out to Nia Jax for what she did in that match as well. But Ronda Rousey is a beast. I'm just giving 100. The judo throw she did to Nia was on point. All the little transitions to all the different submission moves she did, especially watching the match back on the network, was just it was on point. So I was very happy to see Ronda get the buzz she was getting. The crowd was behind her, even parts where she was like selling during the match. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, and this is the match where I was looking for this. This was supposed to be the match with like me and my dad's match because he loves Ronda Rousey, and to the point where I was afraid of what was going to come out of his mouth in a public forum. I was afraid of. Old dogs, you can't teach new tricks, man. And I just was afraid of the language, and there's people around, and but I thought to me, everything they set out to accomplish, and we talked about this for how long, man? They did. One, make Nia Jax look strong. Absolutely. Two, make Ronda Rousey, give her the struggle. Don't just let her go in and have her struggle, show the comeback, show the, the back and forth, and for all the criticisms that she gets for her promos or her mic work or whatever, and listen, she's not perfect, and not many are.
And she doesn't need a fucking manager, you sex douchebag.
She doesn't need a mouthpiece, and she doesn't. I wouldn't mind her having a manager, but she doesn't need a mouthpiece. You know what I mean? Those are two different things. I think, you can, and not to bring them up, but when Punk had Heyman, Punk also spoke. It's they don't have to be mutually exclusive. Manager doesn't necessarily mean you always speak for somebody, but I do think that her in-ring ability and her just being able to sell. I don't want to talk about ring psychology because, as Joey Ryan said, all the people out there talking about ring psychology, maybe 5% actually know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? And I know a little bit, but not enough to make myself sound smart. But when it comes to selling, when it comes to helping Nia look, and not helping Nia look good, because Nia obviously is very good at what she does. But going in, people thought, well, this is Ronda Rousey versus Nia Jax. This is a squash match. What is Nia doing in there? She doesn't. And Nia Jax should be this, remember, wasn't that the whole thing on Disco Inferno? Well, what are they going to go with her? Is it just, oh, poor me, I'm a bigger girl? No, I thought when I thought that was an attribute, right? I thought that was something that was supposed to be a strength in a combat sport. So I like that they're approaching her as this combat sport dominant female, like she should have always been. But it also showed Rousey's strengths. It showed, and then having Alexa come in as the ultimate heel and going off the Ronda first, like we said, keep the streak intact. That way nobody beat her. And the one thing I'll say that it didn't click at first, and I think just because my mind was all over the place, because I'm thinking oh my God, it is my dad's sitting in a chair up there. I wish he was down here, but my daughter's going crazy. I'm going crazy. The cash-in's happening. All this stuff's going on, and I just remember thinking wow, it just looks weird how she keeps hitting Nia in the arm with the briefcase. But I mean, you watch, you kind of take a step back and you rethink, and it's oh, but let's think ring psychology. Ronda's been working on that arm for 20 minutes. Ronda did nothing but spend time working on that arm. It's just, that's the brilliance of that's ring psychology. I think that match did a lot for all three, I still don't understand where people aren't on the Alexa Bliss bandwagon. I don't get it. I don't get how people aren't behind all three of these women, because I think all three of them are great. I will say that my father definitely appreciated Alexa Bliss. So if just appreciating Alexa Bliss makes you a racist, I guess he is too. I don't know. And I'm only saying that because I heard that ass. So I'm just take that from, I don't know if that anymore though. I don't know if that's a compliment or if that's creepy from a 59-year-old man. You know what I mean? But I think he meant it in a complimentary way. My wife said the same thing, and she's 27. So let's call it like it is. We all appreciate it. No, but But yeah, man, I think that match did everything that it was supposed to do. I really do. I think it built up Nia, and that made Nia. This to me was like a good for Nia moment because, okay, whatever, she lost the title, but this solidified all of the naysayers that why she doesn't belong there, she doesn't fit into this, she doesn't. There is a place for Nia Jax. There always has been. And I mean, because she's another one that had to go through internet, people getting bullied online, confidence issues, all these things because she doesn't fit that cookie cutter prototype that there shouldn't be anymore. I love this women's division for how the depth and the depth in characters and the variety that we have. Is something that I never thought we'd see. So this match I thought was everything that the women's division can and will be going forward. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, I thought the women were the best part of the show.
I did too.
Top to bottom. Mm-hmm. That was the main thing I took away from the show. And like I mentioned before, I really enjoyed that Styles and Nakamura match. And Elias and Seth Rollins did a very good job as well.
Absolutely.
Going to the men's match, there was another thread through the show that I appreciated, just from like storytelling standpoint. Like Kevin Owens just going through the nth degree to make sure everybody like teams up on Braun Strowman. He even goes to the point where he's like, "I hate pancakes," and he's like, he's happy that IHOP is turning to IHOB in the House of Burgers, and he's pissing everybody off, and it all concludes to him going off like a 30-foot ladder through two tables. I just wanted to get that out of the way. I thought that was a very cool part of the show. Kevin Owens is the fucking man. Period. So Braun Strowman is the men's Money in the Bank ladder match winner. I told you about this last week. It was really interesting just to see how him climbing up ladders and shit in person is just weird.
That is a big boy, man.
By the way, I want to give props for Kofi. I thought that was very cool that he got the main event, the pay-per-view like that. I thought that was very cool.
Who been calling it for weeks?
You did? Yes.
Kofi, baby. Come on, Money in the Bank ladder match. That's his match. If it's a Rumble or it's a ladder match, you put Kofi in that bad boy. I did like how he had Kofi taped on his chest and all that stuff. That was great.
Yeah, so Braun's the Money in the Bank ladder match winner. We'll see what happens with him. I don't think we're at the point now where you have to have Money in the Bank people hold on to the briefcase that long because people in society have ADD these days. People get restless. I mean, I remember last year they're like, "Oh, why doesn't Carmel just defend the Money in the Bank briefcase on the pay-per-view?" I don't know if that's something you want to see. I mean, it's not a title. It's a contract to get you a title match.
I don't like matches for the title, man. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't like matches for the title. I don't like matches to determine. Like after somebody wins the briefcase, in my opinion, that's it. I've never liked. I don't like down the line. Like, well, in 3 months, what they could do is then they could have a match for the briefcase, and then why?
And you know what? I don't like adding on to people who win more Rumble matches.
Right. I agree with that as well. I agree with that. I think that, I mean, there's a certain reason why they went with a booking decision, and there's a longer-term plan. Obviously, Alexa Bliss, it wasn't a long-term plan, but there was an absolute plan in place. There's a plan for Braun. I don't think that as fans we need to feel the need to change it. You know what I mean?
It's a cool thing, though, especially for AJ, with it being her first wrestling show ever in person. Get to see that and seeing 2 ladder matches, seeing a cash-in person, seeing how the women are being showcased like that, seeing Ronda Rousey in her first singles match. I think that's awesome.
Listen, and in that crowd, and because I got to give Chicago props, and listen, that is it's been a while since I've been to the Rosemont. I'm still gonna call it the Horizon. Mama called it the Horizon. I'm gonna call it the Horizon. So it's let me see. That was back in. It's been 12 years since I've been there. So but the crowd hasn't changed, man. Like there's a reason why it's the most notorious crowd. I believe. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade. I'm not trying to, I've been to a ton of cities, and I've been to a ton of cities multiple times too, so it's not like, there's still nothing like the Chicago crowd. There really isn't. To the point where Josh, you're right. I mean, we kind of were talking about this Saturday night. Sometimes I think the crowd blows up a little bit early, like, because before the pay-per-view even starts, they're at like 100 before the pay-per-view starts. Like, yo, we got a long night ahead of us. Like, let's not blow up too quick, it's like CM Punk in a UFC fight. Oh, there you go. By
the way, did you see Booker T putting himself over for the pay-per-view?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I heard everyone chanting his name, yeah, and him, yeah. Well, Booker T's never heard a chant that he didn't like. My man loves the limelight, so.
That's true.
But then again, wouldn't we all?
He found a way to sneak in a CM Punk thing on the kickoff show. He's like, man, that boy got the break speed off of him. He's not lying.
No, not at all. But what did that have to do with the pay-per-view?
Well, they were talking about Ronda Rousey, right? And Rosenberg had a conversation about people going into different environments and thinking, oh, it's just going to be the same thing. And Booker's like, oh, that's not the case. Hey, CM Punk tried to take over the UFC, and that boy got the beats breaker. And I think that's what he said. I could be wrong. That's what I remember.
No, that's cool though. Wait, so they actually brought him up though, like in conversations, like, okay, no, dude, that's cool. I think that's cool as hell, man. No, hell yeah. I think they need. Listen, the more that I don't want to say like the more that they talk about him or this or whatever, but again, like we kept saying, can we just all move on and let it go? Yes. And it's not, and let's keep it 100. It's not like he was lying about that. That's why I slipped that CM Punk dig in there and said, let's not blow up in 30 seconds. Like, because I love the dude. Like, you know what I mean? I'm a fan of the dude, but he doesn't belong in the octagon. Just like I don't belong on podcasts.
Hey, look, before we get to the road trip, because I want to close with that, I think it's very important for you to talk about your time in the city and stuff before we head out here. But I want to glance over some of the stuff that happened this week outside of WWE really quick. New Japan announced their participants and match lineups for the G1 this year. So that's basically like their Rumble tournament to decide their main event for next year's Wrestle Kingdom. So the funny thing is they actually add their champions in this tournament. So if Kenny Omega wins the tournament this year, he gets to choose his opponent for Wrestle Kingdom 13. So that's how it works. But whoever wins the tournament from a different block that's not a champion, they'll fight Kenny Omega. Or if he loses the title beforehand, they'll fight that particular champion. So the G1 is going to go from July 14th to August 12th. So it's going to be a busy 5 weeks for your boy. I'm going to be slaving away covering these G1 shows. 19 G1 events throughout July and August. It's going to be crazy. Very, very excited for that.
So the champions are in it then too? So Omega and would Jericho be in it then?
No, Jericho's not in it for this year. But Jay White, the Switchblade guy, he's in there. The U.S. champion. And another guy, I think Goto. Yeah, Hiroki Goto is from the Japan side. He's in the match as well. So
and Omega's not in the match either?
Omega is in the tournament.
Omega. Okay, so let me and just because I don't know, and this is just a random question. Has New Japan ever had the IWGP World versus the Intercontinental Champion go against each other
at the same time?
At the same time.
I could be wrong. I think it may have happened with him and Tanahashi, but I could be wrong.
Okay. Because I was thinking that would be a hell of a thing if Omega won then challenged Jericho. If and I don't know what Jericho's deal is with New Japan because I don't. It's nice not being on the internet because then you can have fun things like, hey, I wonder where they're going to go with stuff. But that would be a fun little way to tell a 2-year story of the Alpha and the Omega, have them go title versus title, almost like a Hogan Warrior style thing at Wrestle Kingdom. That would be cool.
Yeah, and guys, I'll keep you updated with the scoring brackets for the tournament as it goes on during the summer on the show. So the G1, they have a G1 special in the Cow Palace in a couple of weeks where it's going to be Cody against Kenny Omega in the main event for the title. That's going to be on Access TV. It's going to be a Saturday night. July 7th. Mark that down, ladies and gentlemen. July 7th. That's when the G1 special in USA is going to happen. So, a lot of cool stuff for New Japan. Lucha Underground was last night. They got this cool thing I told you about a couple weeks ago called a Grave Consequence match. It's basically like their own casket match, but just a lot of more crazy shit added to it. But they're all three guys. There's a triple threat one going on next week. So you got Sammy Callahan, Mil Muertes, who's like the Braun Strowman of Lucha Underground, and then Phoenix, very popular independent wrestler. They're all fighting for the heart and affection of Katrina, who used to be Maxine in NXT. And I don't blame them. So do what you got to do, man.
Climb that mountain.
Yeah, climb that mountain, man. Woo! And Antonio Cueto's still insane. I still give they have the guy who died still playing the same role, but as his dad. That's fun.
I swear I saw that guy in a commercial for something recently. Like, just doing, like, commercial acting stuff. I'm probably totally wrong, but I swear to God it was him.
Oh, Jack Swagger is in Lucha Underground now. He made his debut last night. Give a shout out to Jack Swagger. Pretty cool.
Nice. What's he going by?
Jake Strong. They're calling him the Savage now.
Okay, I'll go with it. Jake Strong. It sounds like a name out of like a 90s Skinamax movie. It's Jake Strong, the Savage.
Oh shit. That's pretty much it. What did I forget? Ronda Rousey got suspended on Raw, and Rusev. It is a Rusev day, ladies and gentlemen. Rusev is going to fight AJ Styles at Extreme Rules in Pittsburgh for the WWE Championship. I think that's cool.
That's exactly what we needed here in the Steel City. Was it for it to be Rusev Day? So and Rusev actually debuted in Pittsburgh at the 2014 Royal Rumble, so there was a full circle coming here with Rusev too. Okay, Josh, what did you think? What did you think
about the announcement, or what?
When Rusev ended up winning?
I thought it was cool. I thought they laid out the gauntlet match perfectly. I'm happy that Big E got that much of the time with Daniel Bryan. I think we made our points clear that we don't need to see Daniel Bryan in title matches right now. We could hold the brakes for that just for a little bit. But it's cool to see Big E get that spotlight. And then Samoa Joe did his part. He get counted out so he doesn't make him look bad. And then I love how it was with the Miz coming in. Just like, bam! And then the Bludgeon Brothers cost Daniel Bryan a match. I don't think he's getting the feud with them. It's just Miz, like, I don't know. He wants to give them some good money or whatever to have them come out like that. I don't know. But I was very happy for Rusev. I thought Miz was going to win it, to be honest with you. I really thought Miz was going to win that match. But the fact he did it, I thought was cool. I don't think it's kind of like the feel I had when AJ fought Roman a couple years ago. They're both baby faces. They're not heels. I know Aiden English is still around, but I think it's very cool.
This is where English costs Rusev the match, and finally turns on him and ends Rusev Day.
That'd be interesting.
So, I mean, it's Extreme Rules, so there's not going to be any disqualifications, I'm sure. There's not going to be, they'll have some sort of stipulation. But
he comes out with a kendo stick and breaks up the accolade or something?
Yeah, I mean, to have Rusev in some sort of position where it looks like he's going to win, and then Aiden English basically he's tired of being the side piece, the lackey. He's basically had to be the mouthpiece for Lana, too. I mean, when's it going to be his time? So that's just I think a way that they could go with it. I'm not saying that's how they're going to go. It's just a way that they could go with it. But, dude, I was pumped for Rusev, man. That's where I was. I was very, very excited. I actually popped a little bit. I was like, holy shit. It's about time, man. Rusev should have had a championship match a long time ago. And I don't know. It's really because of us internet fans that he didn't. And now that, like, all the barriers got broken down and we see Rusev, like, off camera, Isn't it funny how like the internet fell in love with Rusev? You know, and I talk when I say internet, I mean the internet bubble, guys. The Twitter wrestling internet bubble. I'm not, and which is like 10% of the viewership, but for some reason we think we're the 10% that move the needle. So, but that is, Josh. It seems like that, like whenever they started showing Rusev, like you got to see the goofy side of Rusev. It was like, holy shit, this dude is hysterical. He's fucking like, and everybody really started pulling for him. So, and it's been years. I think this has been years in the making. I'm glad it's happening in Pittsburgh. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think Rusev's a very underrated guy. I think he moves well for a stocky guy. I think he's got a lot of speed and strength, and him and Styles are going to have. I think they're going to have a nice. They'll have good in-ring chemistry as far as that goes. They'll play off each other pretty well.
Yeah, it's going to be a good match. And to think about it, Rusev's been with Aiden English since last fall.
That's what I thought.
It's crazy, like how fast time goes by, but these guys have been with each other for a minute.
And here's the thing, and this is actually the best thing, because Sam, when we were sitting here the other night, Sam was like, why is he even with Aiden English? And it's like, I don't know. Do any of us even really know?
I don't know. I want to give props for English. I want to give props for Aiden English because he was getting some love on Sunday. Love the Chicago jacket thing he had. Very cool. He even added Humble Park on that, so I'll give props for him for his outfit.
Is he from Chicago?
Yes.
Ah, okay. That's what I thought. Because I thought when I was watching it back, Graves said it's their favorite native son, which I got a kick out of.
Right.
That was also very well played.
Graves got booed, at least for the part I saw before I got kicked out the second time.
That sucks. And what sucks is and where we were sitting, guys, you'll see, we would have had a Graves sign, like, literally, like, right behind. If he would have looked to his right, there would have been a giant Corey Graves sign, like, right next to him. It would have been awesome for the dude. And because I knew that fans were going to act like that because of the, you know, and I especially wouldn't have wanted to put up with that with all the other nonsense that I was putting up with during that pay-per-view. But, yeah, I don't know. That's crazy.
Before we wrap this up, I want to let you take some time to talk about like your main takeaways from coming up here. Anything that heck came with Saturday, or just in general, talk about like your overall trip and what you're taking away from this experience this past weekend.
Okay, so here's what the hell was that? What was that creak? Is there like a little haunted child that just entered this? What was that creaking sound? Was that your chair, maybe?
Maybe.
It was like, okay.
I'm sorry.
It's turned into paranormal activity all of a sudden. No, yeah. All right. Listen, okay, I'm so used to like because it's been a while since we've been on like any kind of road trip, but the road trip I'm used to just because of not only like family, but from when I lived down there, is the Pittsburgh to Charlotte, road trip. And it's one of the most atrocious, it's just I hate the drive so much. It's 5 hours of being in West Virginia, which is its own little world. But it's like the devil that I know because I'm right next to it, so it doesn't bother me as much. But like the deeper you get in, it's just there's a lot of starting, stopping. It's just not a good ride. Like you're going straight up a mountain, then straight down a mountain. It just sucks. Their drive's terrible. There's nothing fun about it. Dude, the drive itself to Chicago was actually pretty good. Like it didn't seem like it was a good drive as far as that goes. But here's one thing I noticed that you get to a certain point in Ohio, and I know it's you're on Interstate 80 for the most part, but all around Interstate 80, it looks like if you've ever played The Legend of Zelda, it looks like you're in the Lost Woods for like 2 straight hours, to the point where you start to get creeped out, like when like it's in that early morning and the sun's starting to come up, and like it's just dawn, and it's just like has that early morning creepy feeling that the only people that are up are serial killers and farmers, and you're not sure that they're not the same thing, and it's just like everywhere you look, it's the same scene. Then this one's a little bit different because the trees are lined up at a 90-degree angle, but then you go back and I felt like I was Zelda, like but I was driving through the Lost Woods instead of walking like up and like left and right and all these things. It was the most bizarre thing. Indiana, you're an interesting place. I felt like everybody was trying to kidnap us to take us. Did you ever see this movie Jericho was in called Albino Farm?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I felt like Indiana was like. Except I'm certain this one chick that worked at a Sunoco on the interstate that we drove through definitely steals dudes and takes them back to her family so that they can steal their brains and implant white people's brains in black dudes' bodies. And that's I swear this chick was from Get Out. And if I ruin that movie for you, I'm sorry. It's only been a year and a half, 2 years. And I only had to ruin the movie so you idiots wouldn't think I was a fucking racist for telling a joke. God damn it. No wonder why actual real comedians get so pissed off. And like they're always walking on eggshells. I can't even say this chick looks like she kidnaps black dudes and takes them back to her family so that they could put because if you have never seen Get Out, it sounds like a really racist thing to say. But I'm not gonna lie, this one chick looked like she steals black dudes, and I swear it was this chick. I mean, it was accent and everything, the dead look in her eyes. I was frightened. So I guess what I'm saying is, Indiana, like, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Chicago, you made me fall in love with my new favorite station. It's called Polvision, which apparently is Polish television. And I'm not Polish, but I love this channel. I watched the top 10 Polish music videos that I'm certain might have been just Polish artists from Chicago. Because it was the top 10 and there was like 3 artists who had all the songs. I'm almost certain, and like most of the music videos, I swear they all look like club owners. You know what I mean? Like the real like cheesy white pants with like a terrible printed shirt, like velvet shirt, bad print tucked in, like really bad chains. And I was watching an episode of, it was like a Polish Tosh.0. I don't know what, I don't know. I just know that I was enthralled, and the entire weekend I was watching Polvision. I didn't understand a goddamn word, but I'm now, I'm like going through withdrawal. I listen to all this English again. It's not fun. All of this, listen.
It got away from Men in Black.
It got me. I cannot watch that movie ever. I can't. It's definitely a me problem, but there's a certain, I have an issue with that movie, Men in Black, and I've never even seen it. It bothers me. Now, all of this, listen, all jokes aside, though, of all this being said, Ohio is a very creepy place. Indiana is a very creepy place. Illinois is its own place. Pennsylvania is fucking weird, so everywhere is weird. But here's just what I want to say. That part of the country, especially right now, has kind of been taking like a big ear beating from not only people in this country, but all over the world because of the last election, and really most of the people that's what they call the Rust Belt. I basically drove through the Rust Belt, and you know what? Like, listen, here's what the one thing I'll say is all the jokes that I just made are just that jokes. All the people that we met along the way at different, like, rest stops, not in that way, but, like, just people, like, working, like, the different restaurants and, like, the, like, gas stations and convenience stores, or other people that were just stopping and needed to stretch their legs. We met a dude that was driving all the way from, like, Florida all the way to Wisconsin, all over the country just for, like, a Father's Day thing to go meet up with his kids and all kinds of shit. There's a hell of a lot of really, 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 really good, genuine people out there, and like I totally understand why these people feel left behind and feel that like they're just that nobody cares about them. I mean, they don't make a strong case for wanting people to go visit them, but I totally get it. These people were very genuine. They treated my daughter like, I always look at it, how do people treat my family? I don't even give a shit about me anymore. And this is where I think that, I've been preaching disconnect for a year and a half now, 2 years now, maybe. I've been preaching disconnect since before the results of that election ever happened, because I was on a podcast and I told everyone it doesn't matter who wins, we lose. That's why that little blonde bastard, little Aryan Nation motherfucker on the Not Anything Interesting network, all the little stories that he wanted to spin around. It's because of this. When you are out in these areas that we claim are so much different than us, we're not. The only thing that I noticed is Indiana, they really wanted you to love God, like more than any. For some reason, they really wanted you to know that Jesus loves you. Which is a very confusing thing for my 8-year-old daughter when they would go, "Oh, Jesus loves you, but not if you're gay." So I think that's where you guys are dropping the ball, Midwest. Kind kind of, because the people there themselves, to be quite honest with you, treated my daughter like gold. Not that she's, I'm not saying she's living her life out or anything like that, but it's not often that you would see a little 8-year-old rock and roll chick running around with a shaved head and a CM Punk shirt on, and like, you know what I mean? So, but I just wanted to point out that, as much as I wanted to make jokes, and we all make jokes. There are some truly genuine people in this country that get a really bad reputation just because of guilt by association, or guilt by where they live, or guilt by. And I think it's time that all these people, and I'm talking to a hell of a lot of you out there, that spend your lives on Twitter looking for affection, attention, and some sort of adulation, go outside. It's okay to be lonely, but because we all have feelings of loneliness at times, and it doesn't matter even in times of marriage, relationships, but that's life. Life is about having lonely moments. Go out and find people, meet people, like engage in real life, not this virtual thing where everybody's a bully behind these keyboards. And Josh, here we go full circle once again, because I guarantee you that 95% of the people that my family came in contact with on the way up to Chicago, Illinois, if it came down to us behind computer screens, what our values are, what we stand for, and what we typically vote on, or what we talk about at our dinner table, are vastly different. But when you put us in the same place, next to each other, doing the same things, we're all human beings, we're all Americans, we're all one people. And it is a beautiful thing. That's the main thing that I took away from this. Through all of this, I always take away, I make a wrestling trip beautiful. You know what I mean? Like, it's every trip that we've ever taken for WrestleMania or for whatever. And the beauty, I needed this trip to realize that, it really isn't, the problem isn't the people in America. The problem is that the people in America haven't woken up yet. It was when we're side by side, we're unbeatable, because it doesn't matter what we believe. When we're side by side, we stand next to one another because we see us as brothers and sisters. And I notice it doesn't matter what color, what gender, what anything. None of that. None of it matters. It's once we get online that it matters. So let's stop that and start to be these beautiful human beings and these creatures that we can be for what little time left that we have on this planet.
Right. And for me, this weekend was a lot of fun as well. It was a weekend that I needed to have escape from all the stuff I was doing at work and stuff, and never know how it is when you talk to somebody for a lot of years and how it is in person. And I just felt like it was a nice family gathering, getting to meet your dad for the first time, getting to shoot the shit with him. And
Wildcat, huh?
Yeah, he's the man. I got a kick talking to him and knowing a little bit about your side of the family and where they are in Chicago and stuff, and you're still looking for a telephone box, trying to find where your cousins are at and all this shit. I thought that was pretty funny. Getting to meet AJ. I've seen AJ, of course. AJ was, by the way, our guest last week. I think she had most of the predictions right. I could look back, but we'll see. But AJ was our guest last week. Cool to meet her. And another fun stuff was like when you got me when you guys dropped me off at the bus station. That time we got to like chill. It was just me, you, and Sam. It was like I don't know, like 1 o'clock in the morning, or whatever.
Yeah, I thought some bullets were about to start flying, man.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
There's some Fast and Furious shit going on behind us too. I don't know what that was.
Something was going on, man. There were some people that were going at it for a minute.
Yeah, but that time period before I went home, I thought that was probably one of my favorite parts of the weekend. That was a lot of fun. You didn't have to invite me out there. I know you guys had a rough driving day getting there. I know you were stressed out and stuff, but to spend some time with you guys in person, it was something that I won't forget. It was a lot of fun.
Oh no, brother! Listen, that was part of it, man. We wanted to mood up, and I was only to be fair, and this is where I listen. I always tear the fourth wall down. I was only stressed because when I get out of sync with when I take medication for anxiety, my whole schedule gets thrown off. And when you typically use marijuana to help with anxiety and panic attacks and stuff like that, you go to a different state, different city. It's a little bit different when it's illegal up there versus where it's legal where you're at. So it made a little stressful at first, but once I was able to figure some things out, then I was kind of, I was back to being myself. But yeah, I had my own little panic attack up there. Listen, but that's part of the trip, man. That's part of any road trip is that and this is another learning lesson. If we're always here's the learning lesson. We're creatures of habit. And when our whether you realize it or not, and that's why in all those inspirational books, all the motivational books, everything that they say, talk about the pre-dawn club. There's a lot of dudes get up at 4:30 a.m. because they want to beat the sun getting up. I know there's a big crew that does that. There's all kinds of different mindsets you go with. And the one thing that they tell you is that structure and habits are important and to success. And listen, whether you realize it or not, we're all creatures of habit. And when everything can get tilted just even an hour or two or three, man, it can spin stuff out of control. But brother, I'm glad that you came up. We got to hang out. We got to watch NXT a little bit. Got to just bullshit and catch up on some other stuff. It was just a good time, man. It was a good overall weekend. My only regret is you can't really have a regret of, because it's my dad's health is good, and it's just when you have diabetes, you just got to be careful, and that's anybody out there. So. And that's why, guys, we should start taking care of ourselves earlier than later on. We're supposed to learn from our elders. So if you're listening to this, start taking care of yourself a little better. It doesn't matter how old you are, so that you can enjoy the wrestling show that you finally. Because that's the only regret my dad said he has is that he was when I say he was all in. I mean not to pun intended, but he was he was. When I say Elias has a new fan, Elias has a new fan. It was something good. But yeah, man, it was overall it was a good time, man. It was a great time. But like I said, just as always with the Daily Curse, weeks can't be bookended with anything good. And we'll end with this because I definitely want some people to send their well wishes to her. My beautiful, gorgeous, lovely wife, while she was driving to work today. Josh, the car that you were in, our lovely convertible that we just bought 6 weeks ago and got to drive up to Chicago and got everything, is totaled because somebody decided to T-bone my lovely wife today. And we think is all right. She is here and home and okay. But send your well wishes to her, send everything. But yeah, so everybody out there that wants to claim how bad Money in the Bank sucked and wrestling sucks and the world sucks and how fucking WWE this and that. I almost watched my dad collapse because of sugar shock. My wife got T-boned. I don't have a car now. Who knows how our family's going to get by with this one, because it's not like we have we live paycheck to paycheck. We scraped for this. I mean, this was a thing that we had to save for a long time to even do. And then tell me again how bad you have it in your parents' basement and why wrestling doesn't give you what you want. Wah. I didn't have the James Ellsworth's back. Wah. He's a bad guy and I'm booing, but they're not doing what they're supposed to. Wah.
I want to add on to this because I just had a couple tweets here that truly of people taking this stuff way too seriously.
And while you're saying that, but seriously and getting totally genuine for a minute, because she is laying on the couch next to me, I just want to tell her that I meant when I said about the car accident, send some well wishes to my wife. I love her very, very much. This accident this morning scared the living hell out of me. We all know how a car accident changed my life in a very negative manner, and this is just, it was a very scary morning for us. So send your well wishes to this woman. She is the greatest mother in the world. I don't care if it was just Father's Day. This woman is the glue that holds this family together, and this woman needs some appreciation. So get out there, Marks. Do your job.
All right, here we go. This is definitions of Yacht Club and all the other shit I've made up in the past. All right, here we go. The woman who's been in the title picture since fall 2016 was the MITB because that's the only way she can stay relevant as a TV character. Because let's be honest, she ain't no wrestler. I am infuriated, but I'm part of the Nothing Anything Interesting network. Decision making is straight up laughable. Literally anyone in the match could have used that win other than Alexa or Charlotte. You want to push women's wrestling quotes with Ronda Rousey in the time match, yeah, Alexa Bliss wins Money in the Bank. She has never made anyone look good in the ring, and the company hides her inability to do so. It's a joke. And I am so sick of it. The Raw Women's Championship feels way less supported today than when she won the belt. Anyone want to argue with me? Be my guest. I'll go 12 rounds with you. It is a joke that the four horsewomen, Sasha, Becky, Bayley, and etc. and more, have been pushed aside for a Harley Quinn knockoff TV character that couldn't lace up their boots up.
Since when? When did Liv Morgan cash in? You said Harley Quinn knockoff. When did Liv Morgan cash in?
Is she?
Just a question. Yeah, I don't know. Just a question. You said Harley Quinn knockoff. I thought that was Liv Morgan's gimmick.
Right.
Just want to say anything. Hey, and just for number 2, let's put this. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So if the Raw Championship feels a lot weaker now, wouldn't you say that? If that title was so weak, it was able to get Ronda Rousey suspended for 30 days. Doesn't it feel a little more important when you know Ronda Rousey? Isn't this the payoff? Ronda Rousey squash match on Alexa Bliss. Ultimately, isn't that the payoff? So the whining and the complaining and the this booking doesn't make sense, blah blah, because you don't know the end of the story. You're not writing the story. You know what's being spoon-fed to you in your silver spoon-fed fucking body. When you know the end of the story, these little spots along the way make a hell of a lot of sense. So when ultimately it's Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss, 15 seconds, now everybody start to step up, that's the story everybody now wants to see. Am I wrong, Josh? Because ultimately, if it didn't matter, what Alexa Bliss said on Monday night wouldn't have been gospel. She would not have been the headline because she was. She was the headline in ESPN. She was the headline in fucking Fox News. She was the headline in CBS. She was the headline. That should be her new nickname, the headline. Because at the end of the day, as much as you want to bitch and complain and moan and this and that, she's proven everyone wrong. You guys are mad because she wasn't in the Horsewomen. She put that chip on her shoulder and became the best in the world.
Yeah,
period. She's the best. There are friends of mine that text me saying, the only reason why I still watch wrestling is for Alexa Bliss. She's Triple H. And that's why I keep saying that. My friends that are big Triple H marks, they're like, she's absolutely why we love Triple H. Without the imposing physical, physical feature. But she's that but she has the edge, that edge side of things too. But she's ultimately, like we said, she's the first Alexa Bliss. Mm-hmm. And she's great for the company. She's great PR. She's great. She's a great interview. She's great with kids. She's great with Make-A-Wish. And she's great at eliciting a reaction from the crowd. And did I say she is the headline? Did I mention that, by the way? Oh, okay. Yeah. So she's now...
Harley Quinn, she's the headline.
Right. Liv Morgan is the Harley Quinn character. How blind do you have to be to see that? But ultimately, so right now, if the Raw Championship feels like less, then that means that you are just no longer interested in Ronda Rousey or Alexa Bliss, and you're basically trying to turn that into the Roman Reigns aspect of it. That's all. I'm going to say it so many times, other people are going to believe it, while the rest of us sit back and appreciate the amazing talent that we have in front of us. Alexa Bliss as soon as she came up to the main roster, her and Elias both were both talents that weren't probably ever going to work at NXT. but we're absolutely going to work on the main roster. And it's paying off in spades. For anybody to not even, like, you can, like, I'm not saying that nobody can have an opinion. That's not what I'm saying. And I don't know whoever the hell wrote that. Listen, opinions are fine. You cannot deny that she is, when you have Sasha Banks at airports telling people basically to go fuck themselves versus Alexa Bliss who stands and signs autographs, takes pictures with little kids and whatever. What do you, I'm not saying Sasha has to do one thing or the other, but when somebody's positioned better, you can figure out why.
On that note, folks, I want to thank you guys so much for checking out episode 111 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. Be back here next week, shoot the shit, see what's going to go on with Extreme Rules. We got a quick turnaround period because Extreme Rules is on July 15th in Pittsburgh. I could be right.
Who the hell wrote that? Randy Orton? Did Randy Orton write that tweet? I'll go 12 rounds with anyone. Dude, whoever wrote that couldn't go 12 rounds of fucking beer, let alone 12 rounds in fucking anything. People need to wake the fuck up, man. I'm serious. Everyone's such a fucking tough like, it's fucking ridiculous.
Follow the conference at Twitter and Instagram at AdamDaily13. Check out.
No, don't follow me. Fuck the world. Do not follow me. I told you, Pinky Vice is out there. Pinky can deal with all my bullshit. Follow at Pinky Vice, my assistant. He's my media assistant. He takes care of all my bullshit. That's why he hates me. So Pinky will deal with all that.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Notorious Joshi. I post some pictures from Money in the Bank that I had from the show. Hope you guys enjoyed Money in the Bank. Maybe not. I guess that's the prevailing thought. We can't enjoy anything, even if it's in front of our face. That good stuff are going on. But hey, welcome to 2018. It's weird, motherfuckers. For the conference, I am the Notorious One. Thank you guys so much. Check out episode 111 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. Remember, you're the director of your life story. Live it in your own terms. Peace.